Visualize a modest, nondescript office building in Omaha, Nebraska. It is raining. Inside, in a room that has not changed much since the 1960s, sits an old man. He is 94 years old. He's sipping a cherry Coke and looking at a screen that flickers with the pulse of the global economy. For decades, the world has looked at this man as a grandfatherly figure, a benevolent sage who dispenses folksy wisdom about patience and the American dream. They call him the Oracle. They hang on his every word. But right now, the Oracle is not speaking. He is not giving interviews on CNBC. He is not writing cheerful letters to shareholders about the bright future of capitalism. He is doing something much more terrifying. He is selling. He is selling everything that isn't bolted down, and he is doing it in total silence. Warren Buffett, the man who famously said that his favorite holding period is forever, has just committed the greatest act of betrayal in the history of the stock market. He has dumped nearly half of his stake in Apple. He has slashed his positions in Bank of America. He is liquidating the crown jewels of the American empire. And what is he buying? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He is hoarding cash. As of the last quarterly report, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, is sitting on a mountain of cash and short-term treasury bills worth $325 billion. Let me repeat that number so it sinks into your bone marrow. $325 billion. That is more cash than the central banks of most sovereign nations possess. Before we analyze what this means for your portfolio, you need to understand the gravity of this signal. The algorithms that control your newsfeed are programmed to keep you calm. They want you to believe that this is just portfolio rebalancing or tax planning. They are lying to you. If you want to see the cliff before you drive off it, you need to bypass their filters. Subscribe to this channel and like this video right now. Do it to tell the digital system that you demand the raw, unfiltered truth. Leave a comment below with the word Exodus to mark yourself as someone who is watching the hands of the magician, not his smile. Now let us look at why the smartest money in the room is running for the exit. You have to understand the psychology of a man like Buffett. He is a value investor. He buys dollar bills for 50 cents. He buys when there is blood in the streets. But today he is looking at the market and he sees a casino that is on fire, but the gamblers are too drunk to smell the smoke. He sees a stock market that is valued at 200% of the gross domestic product. This is the famous Buffett indicator, a metric he once called the best single measure of where valuations stand at any given moment. The historical average is 100%. We are at double the limit. The engine is not just overheating, the pistons are melting through the block. When a man who has spent 80 years preaching the gospel of Buy American suddenly moves $1/3 trillion into cash, he's making a deafening statement. He's voting of no confidence in the United States economy. He is saying, with his wallet, that cash, an asset that is guaranteed to lose value due to inflation, is safer than stocks. Think about the horror of that calculation. He knows that inflation is eating his cash at 3 or 4% a year. He's willing to lose $10 billion a year in purchasing power just to avoid being in the market. Why? Because he expects the market to lose 50, 60 or 70%. He is choosing the slow bleed of inflation over the immediate decapitation of a crash. The media tells you that the economy is strong. They point to the S&P 500 hitting new all-time highs. They tell you that artificial intelligence will drive a productivity boom that will justify these insane valuations. Buffett is not buying the hype. He has seen this movie before. He saw it in 1929. He saw it in 1999 during the dot-com bubble. He saw it in 2008. He knows that when the shoeshine boy starts giving stock tips, the end is near. But this time, it is not the shoeshine boy. It is the taxi driver trading crypto on his phone. It is the housewife buying Nvidia call options. It is the sheer, unadulterated mania of a society that has forgotten what risk looks like. But there is something even darker happening here. It is not just about high prices. It is about the systemic risk of the US dollar itself. Notice where Buffett is putting his money. Short-term treasuries, bills that mature in 3 months or 6 months. He is keeping his liquidity on a remarkably short leash. He is essentially parking his wealth in the most liquid, most mobile instrument on earth. Why? Because when the liquidity crisis hits, and it will hit, cash will be king. Not just king, it will be oxygen. When the banks stop lending, when the credit cards stop working, when the hedge funds get margin called, the man with the cash gets to buy the world for pennies on the dollar. Buffett is not preparing for a recession. He's preparing for a liquidation event. He's building a war chest, A bunker made of dollars, and he is not alone. This is what makes the situation so chilling. If it were just one old man getting senile, we could ignore it. But look at the others. Look at the behavior of the corporate insiders. The ratio of insider selling to insider buying is at the highest level in a decade. The captains of industry, the CEOs, the CFOs, the people who see the real-time data of their companies, they're all selling. They're exercising their options and dumping the stock on retail investors. They're handing the bag to you. Imagine you're on a luxury cruise ship. The band is playing, the buffet is open, the passengers are dancing, but you happen to look up at the bridge and you see the captain quietly putting on a life vest. You see the first mate lowering a lifeboat. You see the owner of the shipping line getting into a helicopter and taking off. They aren't making an announcement. They aren't sounding the alarm. They are just leaving. Quietly, efficiently. Would you keep dancing, or would you run for the deck? Buffett is that captain. He has looked at the radar. He sees the iceberg. It is the $35 trillion debt. It is the geopolitical fracturing. It is the collapse of the consumer. He knows the ship cannot turn in time, so he is securing his legacy. He is moving his passengers, his shareholders, into the only lifeboat that can float in a deflationary bust. Cash. The scariest sound in the world is not a scream. It is the silence before the scream. The silence of the Oracle of Omaha is the loudest warning siren you will ever hear. He is not telling you to sell because he needs you to buy what he is selling. He needs liquidity to exit his massive positions. Every time you buy a share of Apple because you think the new iPhone is cool, you are providing the exit liquidity for Warren Buffett. You're taking the other side of the trade against the greatest investor of the 20th century. Do you really think you're right and he is wrong? The smart money moves first, the dumb money moves last. The smart money leaves when the party is at its peak, when the champagne is still flowing. The dumb money stays until the lights go out and the police raid the building. We are currently in the final hour of the party. The insiders are checking their watches, they're retrieving their coats, they're calling their drivers. And you're still looking at the menu, wondering what to order, oblivious to the fact that the kitchen is already closed and the building is about to be condemned. Now let us leave the rainy streets of Omaha and fly 4,000 miles west, to the tropical paradise of Kauai, Hawaii. The air here smells of hibiscus and salt spray. The Pacific Ocean rolls gently onto the white sand. It looks like heaven. But if you drive down the dusty roads on the north shore of the island, past the tourist resorts and the surf shops, you will encounter something that looks less like a resort and more like a military black site. You will see a 6-foot stone wall that stretches for miles, blocking the view of the ocean. You will see security guards patrolling the perimeter in black SUVs. You will hear the constant grinding roar of heavy machinery. This is Kulau Ranch, the 1,400-acre property of Mark Zuckerberg. And he is not building a hotel. He is building a tomb for the modern world. According to public planning documents and investigative reports, the CEO of Meta, the man who wants you to live in a digital metaverse with cartoon avatars, is spending over $100 million to construct a survivalist compound that rivals the bunkers of the Cold War. This is not a renovation. This is a fortification. The project includes 2 main mansions connected by a tunnel. But the real story is what lies beneath the ground. Buried under the volcanic soil is a 5,000 square foot underground shelter. It features living quarters, a mechanical room, and an escape hatch. The door to this bunker is made of metal and filled with concrete, designed to withstand a blast wave. It is the kind of door you find in a nuclear silo, not a residential home. Why does the 4th richest man in the world need a blast-proof door? Why does he need a 30-foot diameter water tank equipped with a pump system? Why does he have 1,400 acres of land dedicated to sustainable farming and ranching? Because Mark Zuckerberg knows something that you're trying very hard to ignore. He knows that when the financial system collapses, the social contract collapses with it. He knows that when the dollar loses its value, the law loses its authority. He's not preparing for a market correction. You don't build a bunker for a recession. You build a bunker for the end of civilization as we know it. The irony here is thick enough to choke on. This is the man who spent the last decade selling you the idea of connection. He built a platform to bring the world closer together. He preaches the gospel of globalism, of open borders, of digital community. But when it comes to his own survival, he is betting on the exact opposite. He is betting on isolation. He is betting on thick walls, heavy doors, and armed guards. He's telling you to wear a VR headset and live in the cloud. while he pours concrete into the earth to protect his physical body. He's selling you the matrix while he unplugs himself from it, and he is not alone. This is not the eccentricity of one paranoid billionaire. This is a pattern. It is a synchronized movement of the elite class. Look at Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir. He managed to acquire citizenship in New Zealand, a country that became the favourite lifeboat of the tech aristocracy, and built a panic room in his estate there. Look at Sam Altman, the face of artificial intelligence. He has openly admitted to stockpiling guns, gold, potassium iodide, and antibiotics. He has an arrangement with Thiel to fly to New Zealand when the system breaks. These men are the architects of our future. They control the algorithms, the money, and the technology, and yet their actions scream that they have zero faith in the stability of the structure they are building. They are like engineers on the Titanic who are quietly designing their own personal submarines, while telling the passengers that the ship is unsinkable. They know the structural integrity of the West is compromised. They can see the cracks in the hull. They monitor the social sentiment data that Meta collects from billions of users. They see the rage. They see the polarization. They see the mental illness spreading like a virus. They know that the pressure is building to a breaking point. The construction of these compounds tells us exactly what kind of scenario they are expecting. They are not worried about a foreign invasion. They are worried about you. They are worried about the domestic population. The specifics of Zuckerberg's compound are chilling in their detail. The plans include blind doors, doors designed to blend into the walls, indistinguishable to the naked eye. These are architectural features designed for evasion. They are designed to hide from a mob. The self-sufficient food system raising Wagyu cattle on macadamia nuts and beer, produced on site, is not just a culinary flex. It is a closed-loop caloric system. It ensures that even if the supply chains of the world grind to a halt, even if the grocery stores are empty and the trucks stop running, the king of the metaverse will still eat steak. This is a physiological withdrawal. The elite are acting like a brain that is deciding to sever its connection to a dying body. They are hoarding the nutrients, resources, and cutting off the blood supply to the extremities of the public. They are retreating into the brainstem, into the core, to survive the coming seizure. They view society not as a community to be nurtured, but as a biological threat to be managed, and eventually to be escaped. You have to ask yourself, if the people with the best data in the world are digging holes in the ground, why are you still buying index funds? If the people who own the casino are cashing out their chips and buying farmland and ammunition, why are you still sitting at the slot machine? There is a massive disconnect between the narrative they feed the public and the reality they live privately. Publicly, they talk about optimism, growth, and innovation. Privately, they are signing non-disclosure agreements with construction crews to build soundproof, blast-resistant fortresses. The bunker strategy is the ultimate insider trade. It is a short position on humanity. They are shorting the social order. They are shorting the rule of law. They are shorting the police. They expect that by 2026 or 2027, the veneer of civilization will be so thin that a single spark could burn it away. They are preparing for the pitchfork moment. Throughout history, when the wealth gap becomes as wide as it is today, the poor eventually eat the rich. It happened in France in 1789. It happened in Russia in 1917. The billionaires of Silicon Valley have read their history books. They know they are the new aristocracy, and they know what happens to aristocrats when the bread runs out. So, while you argue about politics on Facebook, the owner of Facebook is building a wall to keep you out. While you worry about paying your mortgage, he's worrying about whether his air filtration system can handle a biological attack. He has already mentally checked out of the society you live in. He has already made his exit. The Great Exodus is not just about moving money. It is about moving bodies. It is about physical separation. The drawbridge is being raised. The moat is being filled. And you're on the wrong side of the water. Let us descend from the high-altitude bunkers of Hawaii back to the grimy, sweat-stained trading floors of Wall Street. If Warren Buffett is the oracle and Mark Zuckerberg is the architect, then the thousands of CEOs and corporate executives are the mechanics. They are the ones down in the engine room. They see the oil pressure gauges. They hear the pistons knocking. They know the true health of the American corporate machine better than any analyst on television. And right now, the mechanics are fleeing the engine room in droves. They are not trying to fix the machine. They are stripping it for parts and running for the lifeboats. We are witnessing a statistical anomaly that should make your blood run cold. It is called the insider sell-buy ratio. In a healthy market, executives buy shares in their own companies because they believe in the future. They believe their hard work will increase the value of the stock. Today, that ratio has collapsed. For every one insider buying a share, there are dozens selling. We are seeing a wholesale liquidation of the corporate class. This is not a trickle, it is a hemorrhage. Look at Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, the man who built the infrastructure of modern consumption. In a span of just 9 trading days in February, he dumped 50 million shares of Amazon stock. He cashed out $8.5 billion. $8.5 billion. He didn't need the money to buy a new yacht. He already has the biggest one. He didn't need it for groceries. He moved that money out of the equity of his own company and into the safety of cash and hard assets. When the man who created the everything store decides that he would rather hold dollars than shares of his own creation, he's telling you that the everything store has hit a ceiling. He's telling you that the growth story is over. Look at the Walton family, the heirs to the Walmart empire. They have sold billions of dollars worth of stock this year. Walmart is the pulse of the American consumer. If the average American is doing well, Walmart does well. If the Waltons are selling, it is because they see the internal data. They see the credit card declines at the register. They see the shift from beef to chicken, from chicken to beans. They see the consumer dying on the vine. They are cashing out at the top of the market before the earnings reports start to reflect the reality of a broke nation. But perhaps the most terrifying signal came from Jamie Dimon. He is the CEO of JP Chase, the most important bank in the Western world. He is the king of Wall Street. For nearly 2 decades, through the 2008 crash, through the pandemic, through every crisis, Jamie Dimon never sold a significant portion of his stock. He famously said that his net worth was tied to the bank's success. He was the captain tied to the mast. But in 2024, for the first time in history, Jamie Dimon sold $150 million of his own stock. The captain has untied himself. The banker of last resort is cashing out. If Jamie Dimon doesn't trust the future of the banking system enough to stay all in, why do you? You need to understand the mechanics of who is buying when these giants are selling. When Bezos sells $8 billion of stock, who is on the other side of that trade? It is not another billionaire. It is not a hedge fund genius. It is you. It is your passive index fund. It is your 401k. It is the mindless algorithms of Vanguard and BlackRock that automatically buy shares every time you get a paycheck. They are using your labor, your savings, and your future to provide exit liquidity for the elite. They are transferring the bag from the strong hands to the weak hands. This is the greater fool theory operating on a national scale. The insiders know that the valuations are disconnected from reality. They know that the price-to-earnings ratios are stretched to breaking point, but they also know that the passive investing bubble creates a constant stream of dumb money that buys at any price, so they feed the ducks. They dump their shares into the open mouths of the retail public, chirping about AI revolutions and new paradigms to keep the price high while they exit. It is a wealth transfer of staggering proportions, happening in plain sight, legal and regulated by the very people who are benefiting from it. Think of the economy as a restaurant. You are the customer, sitting at the table, waiting for your meal. The CEOs are the chefs in the kitchen. Usually a chef tastes his own food. He eats what he cooks. But suddenly, you notice something strange. The chefs stop eating. They start bringing packed lunches from home. They start quietly selling the stoves and the pots out the back door. The owner puts a for sale sign on the building but covers it with a happy hour banner. Would you stay and order the steak? Or would you realize that the meat is rotten and the kitchen is about to be condemned? The scale of this insider selling tells us that the soft landing narrative is a hallucination. You don't sell the family silver if you think the estate is going to prosper. You sell it when you think the barbarians are at the gate. These executives have access to real-time data that the government won't release for months. They see the supply chain fractures. They see the collapsing demand. They see the rising cost of debt. They are positioning themselves for a deflationary crash, followed by an inflationary firestorm. They are getting lean. They are getting liquid. This is physiological. It is the instinct of the herd. When the alpha animals start moving toward the exit, the rest of the pack usually follows. But in the human stock market, the alpha animals have convinced the sheep to stay in the pen. They have convinced you that time in the market beats timing the market. That might be true in a normal cycle, but we are not in a normal cycle. We are at the end of a debt supercycle. And in the end game, the only thing that matters is who holds the chair when the music stops. The insiders have taken away almost all the chairs. Bezos has his chair. The Waltons have their chairs. Dimon has his chair. They are sitting on piles of cash, watching you dance. The music is playing faster and faster. The Federal Reserve is the DJ, spinning the tracks of hope and rate cuts. But the volume is fading, and when silence falls, millions of retail investors are going to look down and realize there is nothing beneath them but a gaping hole in the floor. You are being set up. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy of self-interest. These people are not evil, they are just rational. They are rational actors in a system that is about to implode. They are saving themselves, and by keeping you invested, by keeping you bullish, they ensure that they get the best possible price for their exit. You are not the client. You are the liquidity. You are the fuel they burn to make their getaway. We have reached the final act of this tragedy. The stage is set. The players have taken their positions. The smart money Buffett, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Dimon has already left the building. Their limousines pulled away hours ago, heading for private airfields and fortified compounds. But you? You're still in the ballroom. The music is still playing. The lights are still bright. The television pundits are shouting, "Buy the dip," and new all-time highs. They're pouring you one last glass of champagne, telling you that this time is different, that the party will go on forever. But look around you. Look at the floor. It is littered with the confetti of broken promises. The air smells of stale greed and desperation. You are dancing with ghosts. This phase of the market cycle is known to technical analysts as the distribution phase, but I prefer to call it the slaughterhouse chute. It is the narrow corridor where the cattle are herded just before the bolt gun fires. The walls of this chute are built out of FOMO, fear of missing out. The floor is greased with easy credit. The goal of this phase is not price discovery. The goal is to transfer the maximum amount of risk from the professional class to the working class. Every time you buy a stock at a price-to-earnings ratio of 50 or 60, you are not investing. You are stepping into the chute. You are volunteering to be the collateral for a system that has failed. The psychology of this moment is fascinating and terrifying. It is a mass delusion. The retail investor looks at the chart and sees a line going up. He feels a hit of dopamine. He feels like a genius. "I made 20% in a month," he screams. He does not realize that this profit is an illusion. It is paper wealth. It only becomes real when you sell, and the vast majority of retail investors never sell at the top. They hold. They hold because they are greedy. They hold because they fall in love with the narrative. They hold because they believe the CEO who is dumping his own stock while telling them to buy. And when the crash comes, they will ride that line all the way down to zero, paralyzed by fear, watching their life savings evaporate, waiting for a rebound that will never come. This is the difference between the predator and the prey. The predator sells into strength. The predator sells when everyone else is buying. The prey buys when everyone else is buying and sells when everyone else is selling. Buffett is a predator. He sold into the rally. He used your enthusiasm to cash out. Now he sits on the sidelines, perfectly calm, watching the chaos unfold. He's not suffering from FOMO. He's suffering from JOMO, the joy of missing out. He knows that cash is an option to buy the future at discount. He is waiting for the blood. The door is closing. I cannot say it any more clearly. The window of opportunity to secure your financial survival is shrinking by the day. The insiders have signaled the end of the cycle. They have rung the bell. If you are still fully invested in the stock market, if you are still betting on the soft landing, you are fighting against the people who own the casino. You are betting that you know more than the man who built Amazon. You are betting that you are smarter than the man who runs JP Morgan. That is not a bet. That is arrogance. And the market punishes arrogance with poverty. So what should you do? You should stop listening to their words and start watching their hands. Ignore the CNBC interviews. Ignore the White House press briefings. Ignore the expert forecasts. Look at the SEC filings. Look at the Form 4s. Look at the construction permits in Hawaii. The hands of the elite are busy building walls and stacking cash. Your hands should be doing the same. This is the time for radical defense. It is not the time to try to get rich quick. It is the time to ensure you do not get poor quick. Liquidity is your best friend right now. Cash, gold, silver, Bitcoin held in self-custody. These are the assets that survive a systemic reset. You need to position yourself outside the blast radius of the traditional banking system. You need to be like a cockroach, hard to kill, adaptable, and ready to survive in the dark. The Great Exodus is not just a financial event. It is a social signal. It means the social contract is broken. The elites have decided that they no longer need to pretend that we are all in this together. They are securing their own lifeboats and cutting the ropes. They are leaving us to deal with the debt, the inflation, and the social unrest. They are retreating to their islands and their bunkers, leaving the cities to burn. Do not expect them to come back and save you. Do not expect a bailout for the common man. The next bailout will be for the system, not for the participants. They will save the banks, but they will sacrifice your savings to do it. As the camera pulls back from this scene, imagine the Titanic sailing into the night. The lights are blazing. The orchestra is playing a waltz. The passengers in steerage are sleeping. The passengers in first class are dining. But on the bridge, the officers are gone. The wheel is spinning freely, and in the distance, illuminated by the cold light of the moon, is the white mountain of ice. The insiders are already in the lifeboats, rowing away into the darkness, their oars dipping silently into the black water. They aren't looking back. They know what is coming. You are standing on the deck. You feel the vibration of the engine stopping. You feel the slight tilt of the floor. You have a choice. You can go back into the ballroom and dance until the water is at your ankles. Or you can find a piece of driftwood, jump into the freezing ocean, and start swimming. It is a terrified, lonely choice, but it is the only choice that leads to survival. The music is fading. The silence is returning. The greatest wealth transfer in history is complete. The insiders are out. You are in. The only question left is, when the ship goes down, will you go down with it, or will you be watching from a distance, cold but alive, holding the only thing that matters, your freedom? This is the final warning. The exodus has begun. The era of the passive investor is dead. The era of the survivor has arrived. Good luck. You're going to need it.